Well, I think the first thing I'd want to say in response to that is that as several scientists have openly acknowledged, that to start getting into serious discussion of geoengineering, and of course we're talking about it in a very generalized way now, and there are many many versions of it, some of them more nightmarish than others. I think the first point I'd want to emphasize is that it's a terrible admission of failure that we're even getting into that. But I know that there are scientists who are saying, well, you know, a desperate situation calls for desperate measures. And you can sort of see the logic of that. But without claiming any, you know, real technical knowledge, I started off with a deep gut reaction that this is a terrible route for us to be going down. And after I'd read Clive Hamilton's book Earth Masters, which is devoted to this subject, I found that view confirmed. Now it may be too late for us to prevent catastrophic climate change because of emissions that have already taken place, and the heating that's already trapped in the system, and the trajectory that we're on, etc., etc. But I still incline to the view that diverting attention to geoengineering, if it is a case of diverting rather than and I realise that's also an issue, is a classic case of moral hazard. That my instinctive reaction is we're yet again in danger of looking to technology to come up with some magical answer, which is highly dubious, rather than, or as a way of avoiding the difficult issues that we need to face with regard to our continuing extraction of fossil fuels and our continued consumption of them. You prompt me in a way to go back more into the psychological domain with your mention of time wasted, and I would like, before we finish this interview, to just to say a little bit about the subject of blame and the subject of anger. I think that it is increasingly clear that the fossil fuel industry was in possession of knowledge back in the 80s as to where we were going with climate change and why, and that its response to that was not to rethink its business model, but to keep profits as the only bottom line that counted for them, as opposed to the triple bottom line of profit, people, and planet. And by one means or another, they embarked on a strategy of obfuscating what the science was already starting to reveal, and taking every measure at their disposal to obstruct and divert action. Why I think so, that's you know, could be considered one of, if not the greatest crime of the 20th century, and there were some pretty big crimes in the 20th century. And I realised that there would be people who would be offended by me putting the action of the fossil fuel industry in that regard up there at the top, but that's my view. But then we get to the question of, well, where do we go with that? Where do we go psychologically with that? And I think that there has to be a balance. I think we're right to be angry. I think that I think it's very hopeful that you've got this initiative in America where the children, albeit with a great deal of support from activists like Bill McKibben, are taking action against the American government for not responding in anything like an adequate way to the climate threat, and the implications of that for those children's future. And I think to a degree we are entitled to point a finger of blame and to hold the fossil fuel industry to account. I think in a way that's necessary, but it mustn't stop there. We have to then, I think, remember to reclaim our own responsibility. You know, we're all beneficiaries of the fossil fuel age, and part of that tricky path that we have to chart and try and tread is to keep aware of the question of responsibility and personal empowerment, and somehow find a balance between exaggerated, ridiculous, grandiose notions of one's individual power or the power of one's group or association on the one hand, or just say it's not my responsibility and give up on the other. There's another valuable contributor to the Climate Psychology Alliance, Sally Weintraub, has said an important part of all this picture is that the grown-ups haven't got this thing covered. They really haven't. So we all need to think about our responsibility individually and collectively to address that state of affairs.
Okay, very good.
It's probably enough to be getting on with.
When someone's experiencing something like the droughts or the fires, they're kind of on a trend.
Yeah.
And the droughts, there's a point where a drought stops being a drought. It's going through a period of aridification.
Yeah.
And that's a new phase, it's a new state.
Yeah.
At some point there has to be a realization that things are not going to go back to the way they were. And the sooner we can recognize and respond as individuals and as societies and communities, we're going to be better off and much closer to some form of resilience.
You are speaking with the voice of reason, and we can only hope that reason prevails.